Last time out, Buddy Simpson, son of IndyCar legend Bobby Simpson Jr., made his long-awaited Formula 1 debut. It didn't go badly, but it could have been better. Lights out and away we go. It's not a bad start that Buddy has got, and kind of a similar start to the likes of the cars. And there seems to be a bit of a blocker ahead, because now Romain Grosjean's got a very bad exit out of the chicane, and now not only is Buddy going to get down the inside of Grosjean, he's got down the inside of Pascal Wehrlein as well. Going to try it up the inside going into turn 6, and he has made that move stick, so another good move. As you can see, Max Verstappen is slowing with an engine failure, and as you can see, we have a safety car. He easily gets through going up towards turn 11. He just doesn't seem to be able to get the exit out of turn 10.
Is there any alternative strategy available? We need to think about changing the strategy because I'm being passed by absolutely everyone. I'm as slow as...
He puts on a set of super softs, who is going to try diving it up the inside into the penultimate corner, and he's through into P14. And Buddy Simpson is going to come home to finish his first race in P14. But his career has not been easy off track. His famous father wanted him to go down the IndyCar route, but he decided to go down the F1 route, much to the dismay of his father, who has used his forceful ways to try to get him back on the IndyCar route. He's having to keep his career a secret from his dad. And here's what happened after his dad recovered from his raid at his son signing for Haas.
Why did you sign that contract when you're supposed to be an IndyCar?
Formula 1 is my dream. What is your problem with Formula 1? It's the pinnacle of motorsport.
Oh, pinnacle of motorsport, my arse. All the drivers do is drive cars how they're technically told to. That is not real racing. IndyCar is real racing.
The cars are hard to drive. Why don't you try driving one yourself? Way harder than any of the Indy cars I've ever driven.
No, a Simpson does not belong in a Formula 1 car.
Well, clearly they do if a Simpson's going to race in F1.
Oh no, one isn't. Send a message to the Haas F1 team to say that you retract the contract, and I want you to send it now. Write the letter and give it to me.
No, F1 is my dream.
Now.
You can't do that.
Now.
Okay, I will.
Okay, give me that and I'll send it to the team. Thank you. A Simpson doesn't belong in Formula 1.
My dad thinks he can pull that off. I'm racing in Formula 1, and you're just going to have to deal with it, Dad. Let's write a letter to say to the team, my dad forced me to do that and to keep the contract. Need to keep it a secret from my dad though. But he doesn't follow F1 at all, so he will never know that I'm in F1. So, Buddy has to keep his Formula 1 career a secret from his dad. A hard task, but he succeeded so far, even though he has had some close calls. One of those close calls happened after the season opener in Australia.
Where were you this weekend?
I went on holiday with my girlfriend.
Interesting. That location tracker on my phone says that you were in Australia. Wasn't the F1 there this weekend?
No, I really was on holiday. Part of the holiday was going to see the race.
Really? Were you just going to the race? Why are you still wearing a Haas top?
I was supporting the team that I would have driven for had you not put a stop to it.
Okay, I never want to see you going to an F1 race again, right? A Simpson doesn't belong in Formula 1.
Buddy has always been afraid of the day his dad will find out that he's in Formula 1. But for now, it's time for him to head to the Sakhir International Circuit for the Bahrain Grand Prix, which has seen plenty of action in the past. So, here we are at round 2 at the Sakya International Circuit, about to start practice. Just a few pointers. All of you would have probably realised it is me playing both characters there, Bobby Simpson Jr. and Buddy Simpson. But I am hoping, because obviously college starts next week, that sometime in the near future we might have someone from my media group playing the character of Bobby Simpson Jr. and maybe some of the other characters as well. But don't get your hopes up. And if I can't find anyone, who cares? I can just stay like I am now, because I was actually quite happy with that scene. But now moving on to the racing, and Buddy is currently sitting in his Haas VF16, ready to go out for practice. As you can see, he is out on the circuit now, doing the track familiarization program. I can't pronounce the word that it's actually referred to in the game. As you can see, he's hitting all the checkpoints quite well right now. Of course, in his car he cannot see the checkpoints. As you can see, he missed one of the checkpoints there, and he did on his first run as well. So it's not been a perfect run for Buddy Simpson for the track familiarization program. Obviously he doesn't know that yet, or he's probably realised by now that corner he messed up. Obviously the team are going to tell him when he gets back to the garage, but he's going to cross the line, and he has got enough points to pass the challenge, which is more resource points. So now moving on to later in the session, as you can see, Buddy's actually on the soft tyres now. He's on a new run where he's testing out his single lap pace on the soft tyre. And it is important that he gets these resource points, because then he's going to be prioritised when it comes to car development, and he's going to have an input on what needs to be done to the car. So he crosses the line and he goes P10, and that is where he would end the session. So it was a good morning for Buddy Simpson, or afternoon in Bahrain terms. So now moving on to practice 2, and now he is actually doing the tyre preservation program, where he's got to preserve his tyres but also set lap times within the delta time. And this is the toughest challenge that he has to do. In Melbourne he had no chance to pass this challenge because he obviously had an incident with Fernando where he lost part of his wing, which affected his pace. As you can see, he is struggling to set a decent lap time underneath the target time. So now he is on the 10th lap of the 10 lap challenge. As you can see, there are 2 greens on the top of the screen, which shows he has managed to pass with a couple of the laps, but he's only managed to get a handful of resource points from it. He's not managed to get very many resource points, and as you can see, he did not manage to pass the challenge. So now later in the session, Buddy is doing the qualifying pace challenge as he rounds the final corner, and it looks like he is about to set a time underneath the target time, which puts him 10th on the timing sheets. That ensured he did pass the challenge, and he ended the session in 12th place. So Buddy's shown good pace so far this weekend. So now moving on to the Saturday morning, where as you can see, Buddy is actually redoing the qualifying pace challenge in order to get himself more resource points. And as you can see, he is heading into the final corner on his first lap of the challenge, and he is going to cross the line, and he is going to beat the target time, so he does pass the challenge. So now he heads into the final corner on his third lap. As you can see, he is down. But he did manage to pass in the second lap, so that would have got him more resource points. He doesn't pass it in the third lap, but he ends FP3 7th. So without further ado, let's go in to the qualifying report. The sun was almost down, and the floodlights were almost in full effect, which meant qualifying at the Sakir International Circuit was ready to get underway. Manor endured another difficult session, as they both qualified at the back of the grid. Whilst Button went out in Q1, Alonso was delighted to make Q3, the first time it's happened with McLaren since they reunited with Honda. Sauber endured a difficult session as both cars went out in Q1. Using a year-old Ferrari engine was always going to make Toro Rosso struggle at this track, and that showed as both cars only qualified 15th and 16th. Despite effectively using last year's car with a Renault engine, Renault continued to exceed expectations as both cars qualified in 13th and 14th respectively. Force India once again qualified around the top of the midfield in 9th and 12th. Felipe Massa was disappointed to miss out on Q3 for Williams. The biggest surprise of qualifying was that rookie Buddy Simpson managed to make Q3 in only his and the team's second Formula 1 race. Kimi Raikkonen put in a good performance to qualify in third, whilst Vettel was disappointed with sixth. Sandwiching in between the two Ferraris were the two Red Bulls of Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo, whilst Lewis Hamilton headed a Mercedes front row. So, taking a look at the final grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it's Lewis Hamilton heading a Mercedes front row ahead of Raikkonen and Verstappen, who out-qualified Kimi Raikkonen to qualify in 4th. Vettel qualified in 6th ahead of Bottas, and Simpson makes it into Q3 for the first time. Hulkenberg qualified 9th ahead of Alonso, Massa and Perez. The two Renaults made up row 7, with the two Toro Rossos on row 8. The two Saubers were on row 9, ahead of Button, Verline, Haryanto, whilst Grosjean starts at the back of the grid due to a grid penalty.
There's something in the Bahrain air tonight, and I'm not just talking about the sand. Our brightest minds have thrust their brightest ideas into the spotlight of the Sakir circuit this evening as we look ahead once more to a Grand Prix that has thrilled us so consistently in the past. Formula One returns to the desert today on this exceptional 3.36 mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities, and 2 DRS zones will help with that as well. It could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix. Bahrain has showed us many times in the past, though, Anthony Davidson, that a good strategy will only take you so far. Beyond that, you need good racecraft and you need good consistency.
And a little bit of luck too, I'd say. This is one of those circuits where the safety car always seems to come out just at the right time to condense the field together and mix up the cars on different strategies. It's hard on brakes, it's tough on fuel, and the main overtaking opportunity is down into turn 1, where it's easy to outbrake your opponent and potentially have a bit of argy-bargy as well.
So, here is Buddy Simpson getting prepared for his second Formula 1 race here on the grid in 8th place. Fantastic qualifying for the Haas driver. He really did a good job in qualifying, and hopefully that's good foundations for the rest of the season. So the formation lap is about to get underway. It's underway now. Obviously Buddy has to wait for everyone in front to get away. Obviously he's going to weave his tyres in order to get some heat into the tyres. And this is a real chance for Buddy because he's in 8th. It's a good chance for him to make an impression for himself and for the team as well, because he's starting way up there in P8. So as you can see, Buddy has nearly finished the formation lap, and his team had some final words of advice on the team radio.
Okay, Buddy, good luck. You qualified well, but please be careful. Don't ruin a good qualifying.
So they are about to line up on the grid. as Buddy Simpson is about to go into his grid slot. Of course, he now has to wait for the rest of the field, something that he isn't used to because he started at the back last time out. But it is going to be very interesting to see how this race goes for him. So, here we go. We have the lights in Bahrain. It's lights out and away we go. And Buddy Simpson gets a very good launch of the line. And he's already got the jump on Bottas on the run up to the first corner. Breaking down into the first corner now. But Sebastian Vettel completely cuts across on him, which causes him to lose out to Valtteri Bottas. And now heading up towards turn 3, I'm pretty sure he's going to be worried if there's any pressure from behind from Hulkenberg. But Buddy also, unsurprisingly, had some questions for the team.
How's my front wing? How's my front wing? The Ferrari gave me absolutely no space at all.
The front wing is fine, buddy. Just keep going.
So now looking at the replay, as you can see, Buddy's on the inside way before Vettel turns in. Even though some could say Buddy was a little aggressive. But now here you're having a look at Nico Hulkenberg trying to get round the outside of Buddy, but runs wide and almost loses out to his teammate. Perez would eventually get past his teammate heading up towards turn 1. And it wouldn't be long before he'd start attacking us, which is not what we need, as whilst trying to defend we'd be losing time to the cars ahead. So now you're riding on board with Perez on the run up towards turn 4. He goes to move, but makes contact with us, and then we'd run wide, and Perez would take the position, and this would allow Hulkenberg to close. We of course have to run wide to leave the Force India driver space, but eventually we would win that battle, so we are still able to hold P9, which is good. But at this point Perez was gone, and now as you can see Hulkenberg is able to just drive past us, obviously with the power of that Mercedes engine. So now moving on to later in the lap, Buddy Simpson gets the exit. He's going to dive up the inside, going into turn 9. What a fantastic move there from Buddy Simpson. And it did really impress his team.
Awesome, buddy. Truly awesome.
But Buddy was still having to really defend from the Force India driver, and he knew it was just a matter of time before he was going to be able to get ahead. However, the Williams of Felipe Massa would then get ahead of the Force India, but Massa was going to attack just as much. And as you can see, Massa initially got through that, and Buddy had to take avoiding action to avoid the Mercedes Lewis Hamilton exiting the pits. Somehow Buddy held position. As we are now looking at Carlos Sainz Jr. in the Toro Rosso, whose engine has died and he's going to have to stop. No safety car results from it. As you can see, Hulkenberg and Massa are battling very hard, as Massa has the inside line, but Hulkenberg gets to drive and is able to stay ahead. So now moving on to lap 11, and Buddy Simpson is coming into the pits. He brakes for the speed limit, and he comes into the pits for his first scheduled stop. As he hits his marks, so he gets put onto a set of these softs, but because he's at the end of the pit lane, he has to wait for not just Hulkenberg, but for Alonso as well, and he loses out to both, which is really not what he needs. And that's obviously just the bad luck of being at the end of the pit lane, where you'd have to wait for a couple of cars, being in the rule. But many believed it shouldn't take long for Alonso to be cleared, but the Force India of Nico Hulkenberg was going to be a much harder car to pass. So now moving on towards the end of that lap, and as you can see, he is right behind Fernando Alonso, who's also on these soft tyres. So now heading into the penultimate corner, but he completely missed his braking point, and he hits Alonso. And that really is not what he needs, and the front wing is damaged. So he's unfortunately going to have to pit. Here's what Buddy had to say about that.
Sorry, that was my fault. That was really stupid of me. I completely missed my braking point.
So now, as you can see looking at the replay, he did completely miss his braking point. I think he got caught out by Alonso's early braking. And of course that resulted in an unscheduled pit stop. So he heads into the pits he only did one lap on those softs, so those soft tyres might still be available later in the race, which obviously would be a relief to Buddy. So he pits. Obviously they need to replace the front wing, and he exits the pits way in last place. So his race has been ruined by that contact. As now we're currently looking at Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull, and his engine's gone, and he's going to stop on the side of the track. Unfortunately for Buddy, it did not result in a safety car, and that is something he really could have done with. That could have brought him back into the race. But at this point in the race, obviously he's just running kind of in no man's land at the back of the field after that incident. But his team have a plan.
Okay, Buddy, we need maximum tire saving. Maximum tire saving, but keep above the delta time. We could go to super softs later.
So, Buddy was hoping to get to around lap 43 on these medium tyres, and at this point in the race he was doing a reasonable job at conserving his tyres. As you can see, he's got Pascal Wehrlein behind him, who has stopped. Unsurprisingly, it wouldn't take long for Wehrlein, who was on the super softs, to make the move down the inside with DRS. So now, as you can see, moving on to lap 36, Kevin Magnussen exiting the pits ahead. He's going to try round the outside. Obviously, Magnussen taking the tighter line, because obviously exiting the pits. He's got the inside into turn 2, so move done. But there's contact, and Simpson has spun it. He does recover. So now, as you can see, looking at it from Magnussen's perspective, we're on the inside, way on the inside before the corner, but he makes a slight bit of contact with us, steers into us. Now, to be fair, he should have backed out of it there. We had at least 7/8 of our car in front, and now that has completely slashed this strategy plan, which the team thought may work. Obviously with that spin, that would have really worn out the tyres quite a lot. As you can see, he's battling with Kevin Magnussen right now, and Kevin Magnussen is ahead. And at the end of that lap, he decided to pit, did Buddy. So he's pitting for the final time, and actually going to put on these soft tyres, which he would have ran the second stint on had it not been for his incident with Alonso. So he heads into his box, and it is a good stop from the Haas mechanics. Of course, he's going to exit in last, he was in last anyway. That also preserves him losing time from moving over for all these front runners. And things would then get worse. All was not plain sailing on his side of the garage.
Got smoke in the car.
Okay, Buddy, we can see. We are gonna have to turn the engine down, I'm afraid.
So, as Danny Kvyat has to stop the car, which unfortunately doesn't result in a safety car, which Buddy could do with him being down on engine power, Buddy now had absolutely no chance of closing on the cars ahead, down in 19th place and last. It's been a very disappointing evening in Bahrain for Buddy Simpson. As the race went on, more and more smoke started pouring out of our car, as you can see. But at the front, it is actually Sebastian Vettel who is going to take victory here at Bahrain in the Ferrari. So Vettel wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. And Buddy Simpson is going to finish the race in last place. A very disappointing race for his second Formula 1 outing. Hopefully he can have a better outing in China. But 19th place, not a good race for Buddy Simpson. As you can see, there's Maurizio Arriva-Bene celebrating his team's first win of the season in the Ferrari. There's Sebastian Vettel now celebrating winning the Bahrain Grand Prix. The Ferrari mechanics in the garage celebrating as well. So obviously a good day for Vettel and Ferrari. The same cannot be said for us. There's Kevin Magnussen, the guy who kind of affected our racing quite a way, as the top three walk onto the podium. Vettel ahead of the two Mercedes drivers, Rosberg and Hamilton. And Vettel takes his trophy as the drivers spray the champagne on the podium. But a very disappointing race for Buddy Simpson, only finishing 19th. The race really was all ruined by the contact with Alonso, and not sure if Buddy would have got any points had it not been for what happened with Alonso, but he might have had a better result. As you can see, Romain Grosjean finished in 12th. There were 3 retirements, all Red Bull related cars. So, now having a look at the drivers' table now. As you can see, Sebastian Vettel has actually taken the lead of the standings after his victory in this race. Buddy Simpson is at the moment in 70th at the moment, still waiting to get points on the board, but hopefully he can very shortly indeed. So now looking at the constructors, and it is Mercedes that lead the way from Ferrari, Williams and Red Bull. Actually, a similar order to last year. Haas are at the top of the non-scorers. But anyway, that is it from round 2, and we'll see you for round 3 as Buddy continues to prove a Simpson does belong in Formula 1.